Okay. The sinner that sin not. Tough concept to get in Christianity that is super simple, but if you haven't received new birth and you don't understand the substance of new birth, you can't conceptualize that aspect of how things are. So there's one thing that matters in life and reality, essence of life, goals of life, work of the systematic of reality, the whole thing. There's one work that really work for the positive of thing, let's say, and everything else work towards the being conscious of that fact, and that's your possibility of salvation. And that salvation is a core motion of being in perfect harmony with the element in reality, that you have found a reasoning in life that is perfectly just. Therefore, you accept reality for the way it is. So in another main plane way of seeing it, you have perceived of the nastiness of the idea of trying to conceive for yourself a place in an establishment in reality for your identity, so your a goal of life. You have realized that having a goal in life is something that is more than futile. It's accusing. Not only it's foolish, but it will reason at the end you're non-wanting to participate within the justice, because you have created your own. You have creating your own reality. And I say that you have created your own reality for the reasoning that you have in a way created that identity that you tag yourself with. And you have hidden behind that face the trouble that you have not conceived of what's the substance of life. Therefore, its use in what is life in accordance to reality, and what's the goal in all that motion. And that's where the doctrine of the Bible comes and brings together the idea of receiving the Spirit of truth. So that allows you to be able to conceive of the mechanism of reality. It's kind of a synonym idea. You know truth, you understand reality. It's the same motion. And then in that motion you reflect the use of life, what life is brought about for. You know what your life is for if you understand the principles of reality, if you know why reality has been applied the way that it has been applied. So you find in reality a work that puts you in the perfect place of acceptance, that you accept because you have conceived of the systematic. Not necessarily that you accept, because everything has been revealed as being rosy and peasy, but that you understand that the real rosy and peasy is to get yourself in a place of trouble. Therefore, changing the whole reality into a complete opposition of what culture has been telling you what culture is there for, to ameliorate your place in the world. That work has been systematized, and now it requires less to be achieved, which is a complete lie, because it's never been harder in life to feed yourself, pretty much, than in the society that we have built. And that not being because of the lack of organization or the lack of work or the lack of anything like that. It's all based on economy and the control of prices and creating rareness. It has nothing to do with the offer of the planet. The planet has plenty to feed us. It's just because the commercial aspect have been took grip over it and have made it expensive for your kind of time unit, what worth. It's very much to get yourself out of that duality aspect that you try, especially when you get in some kind of accordance with the Bible and see the Bible as a recipe book for a good way of living. You kind of put in first place the nonsense of the obviousness that salvation has nothing to do with work. It has to do with comprehension. And your work is to comprehend more. But not to comprehend more of what reality is conceived of, but to comprehend more what is the goal of that post-reality. For that sentiment of lack that you always feel all along, that you have not received new birth, that you can't really get the finger on, because the society has destroyed any possible way to be able to mesh the road or put in application a growth of systematization, or put in place a manner of thinking. A manner of seeing, a manner of getting in perspective. The real mechanism that reality offers, and the way that are required to get the ultimate out of it. So with the comprehension. Because the best we can do with our brain is to comprehend. If you wrap that up in a basic principle, in a basic system, peace comes with the byproduct of your own knowledge of the systematic. If you understand well a systematic, that provides you a feeling of peace in a manner that you are convinced that your inability to be able to resolve a problem in that system, because you know that system so good that you can diagnose it in a very efficient way and find the problem. And it's only to find the problem that provides you peace. And then if you find that the engine is completely burnt, you're still kind of at peace, even though you have tremendous amount of money to throw at the project. You know that right away the mission is to get that old engine out of there. So right away you know what to do. So that brings you an effect of peace in the manner that you know exactly how you're going to proceed to tackle the problem. And the problem doesn't necessarily, the resolution of the problem is part of the richness of what that problem has bring you. So the development of the ability of your mind of being able to concise of problem and fixing it. So your ability to be able to comprehend systematics, read plans, use your intelligence at diagnosing things. And that's the real precious part, if you will. And then when the car starts at the end, it's kind of just, how can I say, a recompense of the acknowledgement of you that you knew what you were doing all along the project. That when you become a good mechanic and you have to redo a timing belt, and you do your turn on your engine to make sure that you didn't have completely miss the point of your exercise. You do your test, and then it's like, okay, in the worst case at that point I have a chance on two, because the timing is divided in two general cycles for what a mechanic knows about mechanics, whatever. Which would round up all that freaking religious bullshit that can put some crazy words for things, but whatever discernment that you do is in a way a blessing, in the way that it trains your mind at systematizing logic, to bring your ability of the mind in the realm of comprehension. Applied on anything, that's the way that you get out of that shitty reality that we all live in. That being regarded clearly, you acknowledge of the materialistic aspect and your biological ability that are gonna die. So life is not residing in there. And God hasn't gratified the more intelligent and the most well-placed person for achieving success in flesh, like becoming rich in a normal manner. And that would put in place a just God. It cannot be just because you don't choose the amount of intelligence you receive when you're born, and you don't choose the position where you are when you're born. You don't choose your parent. You don't choose your town, your suburb, your house. You don't choose nothing. But God is fair, so that must not count in the equation if God is fair, because that's morally unfair for some stupid odd reason that you can't really reason, but it doesn't seem fair. And if you get the sensitivity that you bring about force in life by solving problem, then you can kind of open up on a site that would realize logically that being born in a tougher position brings you more strength. Being the essence of that eternal life, then your poor position become precious. That's very much what God is trying to tell you all along. That there's that richness of the flesh, and there's that richness of the spirit. And when you're highly spirit, it's gonna come and play the interrogation of God that wants to see your sensitivity on a breaking point for a high spirit, that you realize that your own entity, somewhere in time after success, that is not going to achieve ever salvation, that you finally realize that salvation don't hold in that role. And that would very much be the history that Solomon is described in the Bible, that he achieved everything and he said he realized that it gives him nothing. And then you kind of hope for a breakage at that point, that everything you tried didn't work. That's your way out. You have to get out that way. If you're low in spirit, then you it's much more easier for you to conceive of the malice of what competition has brought about in society, and you fall on that kind of reasoning. That is much more simpler, but it attacks the question right at the base. Where is that just God that has allowed the effervescence of that position of flesh, according to your level of intelligence or abilities to screw around with reality and make reality productive for yourself? So you fall right away on the kind of the right question to pose. Where is justice down here? While if you're highly intelligent and highly spirited, you might thrive well in that society and being completely off track. But then you necessitate to hit that concrete wall. Being also the motion of the end time, that you're gonna hit again that same wall. But instead of having years to test your theory of why you're doing or why you have at heart that completeness of conviction, like the 144,000 has for time to be able to describe that mechanism in their head before the action starts to really happen. At the end times, when you have seen all the details of that mechanism of what reality really is, then you have, in a way, minutes, you have days, you have no time to decide yourself and get that crucifixion effect done on you to save yourself out of reality. And that's to become a sacrifice yourself. In the manner that you understood that life resides in the spiritual, but not only in the spiritual, on the people that have comprehended that freaking plan that they have told me all along my life. No, you're wrong, don't conceive of reality, conceive of the movement of reality. Stop changing reality around, or have the desire to change reality around. Acknowledge that reality belongs to God, and God controls it completely. So leave him control the thing. And you being part of that machine, you get yourself let controlled by him. So in the too big mundo, the too big motor of that is that you don't want to have any tie to material, in the manner that you don't have any more materialistic aspect demand of things. So for the society that we are in, I'd go die in front of a veterinarian before I get to the hospital, highly hoping that I don't break myself in that realm, because I don't want to go in a hospital. I don't have a bank account. I don't want nothing. I'm just about to sell that motorbike I have, and now I'm convinced that the way to do it is to buy a bicycle. Then I don't have to have paper that much. I incapacitate Caesar to have a grip on me, because I don't own nothing. So I'm not scared of Caesar, because he cannot take anything away from me. And then what I have, nobody can touch. Because once you comprehend reality, it's yours. It doesn't really matter in what position you are in that reality, especially when you fully understand that body and that whatever emotion that comes with that body, other that what it has to do with conviction. Well, that emotion of conviction that you should always be standing in will not change with what reality offers to you, and in what, in a way, making it simple, what kind of culture you're in. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if you're living the life on I don't know, cutting grass on a freaking hotel in here in Mazatlan. That's a job I'd like to get. Or being in jail. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Or being in China, or being in and actually all those places where where the affliction is big, and that's where sin is great, the redemption is great, the salvation is great. Where grace abounds, sin abound, grace abound. Everything reside on the fact of comprehension, and when your comprehension get imbecilized enough around you, it breaks apart and said, whoa, that's not intelligent anymore. I want to, for some odd reason, I kind of have a feeling of pride to be coherent in my mind. I don't need to be rich. I don't need to be highly spirited. I need to be in a position to be able to make people simply regard how things are really installed and how things are nasty, in a nasty way, distortion. And another nasty way, not nice also to regard, because society might be nasty, but it's based on the natural part of us, which is part of the natural aspect of things. And then if you start looking at Mother Nature, yeah, it offers nice flowers and nice trees and nice forests and nice mountain and nice scenery, but you look at Mother Nature closely, and you look at the chicken, and well, he's eating bugs all day long. So all day long, killing, and everybody needs to kill to survive, and it's all a killing game, and it's all the toughest win game, and it's nasty when you regard it that way, because within a divine mind, you know that doesn't need to exist. Therefore, regarding Mother Nature as a nice entity in a high regard, but a bitter stomach at the discernment of it. That core, it's not that nice. It's only nice if you regard it quickly. If you start examining it, it's not nice down here. It's not nice. It's not nice, and it's been established by God that the whole thing is cursed. The whole thing is for a trap, a jinn, a reason, like a wake up kind of thing. There's only one chance at it kind of thing. There's a competition, there's a run, there's a war, there's something to be accomplished, and of course, in the consciousness of a man, there's a thing to be achieved. And the way that the civilization has been programmed through time, now we are in the generation that it's to be a good man. But it haven't been like that all along. Before that, it was be a powerful man. And then it's not a good man. It's a powerful man. It's a mighty man. A man that is able to have a good connection with other parts of reality, and in transferring them and manifesting them in reality, therefore kind of cheating the laws, the natural law of what the natural state of things have been applied by God, the simple creation, not fucked around with. Never forgetting that this entity that is called universe, before it became matter, it was fully spiritual. And not only spiritual, but spiritual in the potential. So it was a spiritual dynamic. of probably no gold, but a substance, something. And then God is kind of the third part in there that holds it together for our consciousness to be able to interact with whatever that reality is conceived of. Not obvious that it's little piles of electron that put the sticks together. Everything is way more on wave and wavelength and vibrations. When you get the base of that quantum theory that really makes you appear God as the third entity that places reality where it needs to be placed for a normal conscious to have the grip of it. So everybody that are on a base plane that realize reality on that kind of materialistic aspect base is kind of completely now debased of that reality, not being able to conceive that it's essence, it's spirit, it's coordinated spirit. It's coordinated chaos, it's coordinated words, coordinated ability to exchange idea or idea in its pure senses. That's how God created reality through intelligence. Everything has become real because He went and fetched in that spiritual realm all of the preferable conceivable, put them together and arrive with a product of perfectness, which is the universe on touch. For what we can perceive of it, and what kind of modification you can do on the moon from your teepee. And then that's when you get all those ideas that, yeah, you can kind of, in a way, because you believe now in the moon and the sun and whatever's grandiose, godly story you want to fabricate in your mind to kind of explain reality in a descriptive way, not in a how to do it with. Falling on that two plane and having a God that solves your daily problem, and you pray to that God and desire to have an accomplishment from that God for your positioning. Have a bit of a hand on the hope part of your life, out of the divine power. But I mean, that's the way kind of the book kind of wants to make us believe, that we think that the spiritual realm, we have built a way to develop a God, but that's not true. That I don't believe in the manner that I just explained. That reality just comes fresh, coming out of the spiritual realm. So everything This kind is spiritual organized. That's what form matter. God has organized spiritual. Because words is spiritual. You quickly understand in a way that the whole goal of thing, the whole essence of what reality is intelligence. The whole thing holds in intelligence and the power of what that intelligence can achieve. And it can achieve an then betterment of flesh, or it can achieve an then betterment of heart. And that betterment of heart is to regard the construction of the wrong way of doing things. And so in a way, reality is there to teach you the wrong way of doing things, that there's a much better way of doing things. And that basic fact that God has presented you with reality that contain pretty much only two things. It contain the ball that you step on, whatever ball that is, but the earth system and the biological aspect of thing and the realistic aspect of thing. And then I gave you another thing that comprehends everything, that comprehends the rock and the animals and the trees and the lakes and the reality and the life-sustaining system. And then I gave you other men. That's what I gave you. When you decided to plant your head and your hands in matter, you missed the goal. I put man with you. So what's important for you is other men. It's not things. And as soon as you put things, you lose men. Because why you want things? To prove that you're better man? And that's completely breaking apart the dynamic of what reality demands. Who are you to think that you are better because you're more intelligent? Oh, that's not the goal here. The goal here to achieve paradise, it's not your intelligence level, it's your sensitivity abilities. Everything has to do with sensitivity. Are you sensitive enough to acknowledge of things and put them in depth in your heart and make it so it create that deepen that feeling of conviction by the comprehension of new dynamic of how you're screwing reality up in the manner that every time that you discover a new facet of reality, then you understand that whatever your past have been moving for shit is just like your own biological entity that if your hips are displaced, so you're gonna get kind of headache because the whole machine is tied together and one thing's pull on the other, and it ends up giving you headaches. The whole system the same way. Every time that you plays on reality, with reality, or like, I mean, you're participating into that transgression because it's not the fact that you're playing with matter that really affect things. The things that are really affected within you when you don't get the quack is that you forge an ideology and you stabilize that ideology that is a precise, systematic to ensure that you're born with the devil in the manner that you Like I always say, it's not the manner that you're bad men or things like it's that you're completely disconnected of the reason and the essence of life or why life is. And that's immensely important to I mean that's what cuts you off from that acceptance of reality that brings that ultimate peace that cuts every worries and anxieties because you understand that your biological entity is nothing in the equation but the whole thing is within comprehension and then you understand that your biological entity belongs to that realm of reality that has being formed by God and given to the devil for the devil being your wrong ability or your wrong use of your brain to create out of matter because you don't really know why you're doing it. But if you think about it right and the way I think that things have been put together by God within time is that it took a tremendous amount of time to be able to get our brain out of the spiritual powers for the powers that the powers are in the meaning that the how can I say as long as you have a good grip on the substantiality of that spiritual realm that because you're a magician and it's a normal thing to play with that shit. It's a normal thing to play with that shit because that shit, that reality is conceived out of that shit. So the bridge is right there. That's why it's so close and that's why the Bible applies its teaching to that dynamics, which is the spiritual warfare. To get the essence of the dynamic of that spiritual warfare. First, acknowledge of your state in that spiritual warfare. That you're in only two camps. You're in the camp of the devil if you in life go about and live like everybody else around you and not comprehend reality that's as basic as things are in a way and the other sense comprehending reality and then you comprehend that reality in the old systematic has been worked through time by the devil to be able to achieve a generation that was finally cut off spiritual power. But I think it took tremendous amount of time to be able to cut us those spiritual powers. And the abilities of those spiritual powers are as powerful as what your mind can place in concept to the extent that God explains in the Bible that through the power of our mind we should be able to move mountains. So if whatever you can conceive of what magic can do, all the way up to moving mountains, well, that's probably what it can do. So that nice cathedral and that nice St. Petersburg and that nice Vatican and all those crazy Big Benny thing, pyramids and huge blocks, megalith, and so many things that it you gotta be for Shit. Okay. For for salvation to be able to take its full effect, and that's why more and more I'm less and less kind of I believe in identity and their personal, but I'm not sure that I fully comprehend the power of what an identity can leave as a back trace. That how much of that identity, especially if you refer of the thing of truth, that render the ideology quickly into unities that you can it's easily to interpret a whole other bunch of things if that first principle is within the same truth as you perceive truth, kind of thing. Falling on the same tune as another person. You sometimes find friendship that it's funny for some reason. It's like you knew each other for since ever, and I think that's where all that when you capture an idea of grandeur within your soul, that they're the main characters of spirits, and then you get all those little other spirits that comes and change that main person. It's like when you meet people, you have sometimes the feeling that they're kind of part of your family, but you can't explain why that be. That spirit and ideology are very much more powerful than what we would think they are, and then you when you think a little bit about it, then you get a bit of the mechanism of how to invoke spirit through the emotion and the presentation of that fake systematic of complication, which is a mass, an unintelligent coordination, a bit like a dance or coordinated dance, and all those things. You kind of call the spirit that way, and you call the spirit with your little incense and blood shedding, the cock in Mexico for the shamans and things like that. You call the realm of spirit those ways. That is kind of it doesn't make sense. And that's why God has created the systematic of sacrifice and right away hated it. Not because the plan didn't work, but he wants the superior generation to understand the meaning of what it means. The way that the quack works with the sacrifice should work is you get your best sheep and you sacrifice your best sheep because you're a sinner and you have sin and you sin and then that that he kind of hope in a way that you catch the quack and you don't need to kill that sheep anymore. You stop doing sacrifice. Because the sacrifice is a demand of a voluntary affliction of a wrongdoing kind of thing. You reaccord things with God by afflicting your heart, by rendering unusable your best asset. It should inflict you at the most way that it can afflict you as being a freaking man that work for subsisting. So in a way, it'd be super happy to when 1 year you don't present yourself for the sacrifice for the whole years you haven't sinned. That's what God wants from you. He doesn't want you to do sacrifice. He wants you to not want to do sacrifice because it fucks you up in life. So don't do that sacrifice. But in another manner, everybody had to do sacrifice because the 144 haven't come about yet. In the mean that it was pretty much impossible, but by the way of magic, to be able to be with God the way that Enoch did it. And if God took Enoch, it's because Enoch was way too dangerous on earth. He had figured things out way too much. And he raptured him. Anyway, he walked with him because he was some of the first generations, and his magic was kind in a way, in a pure way. Egypt wasn't developed, Babylon wasn't developed. Moses, like the reason why Noah was Noah in the history of Noah was not developed yet. I think he was the fifth one, if I'm right. So you have principles like first it's the intelligence and the creation and I don't remember those verses, but it has to start with that. And logic and the power of concision, these are the core things. So Enoch happens at the end of those core things where you have the base figured out. Enoch being the ultimate on the manner that the whole thing of Enoch was solely to comprehend the system and being a reflection of what happened when you comprehend the system. So you become kind of in the family of Enoch within everybody in the 144,000. It could be kind of like the base of Enoch for the wannabe. Because then you have Methusael. That is a much better description of what new birth is. That is how can I say? Now the diagnose of what your father had learned. Because you were young when your father was producing. So you reconstitute your father by souvenir. You remember of your father. So you diagnose your father, you try to comprehend what he was doing. So that puts you in two places. It puts you in a place where you're gonna go right back to where your father is, or you're gonna comprehend why he's been raptured, and in a way kind of stop it there on that aspect. But you will stop it there on that aspect because you will understand what went wrong, what went wrong with this thing, and that he went and diagnosed the mechanism of matter all the way, that he didn't have any base of the power of what he diagnosed, because time haven't passed by him yet. That's why Enoch saw everything that has to do with end time in visions. He had to be in visions, just like Daniel and things like that. But it's clear that the 144,000, the vision time is over, buddy. There's no more vision, no more indication from anything that has to do with reality, but comprehending it. And then, as much as you had a good grip on an ability to be able to conceive of the spiritual powers and their powers and how to use them and all that in the old days when we knew about the spiritual power, and then how it's been cut off since industrial era and all that, other than for the one that are making us do that era. And then that's where the whole story was going at first, that in that substance, in that way of putting the plan together, that for a very short time the spiritual power has kind of vanished for the society, for the mass, for the lamb, for but not for the lamb, but for the cattle, for the average people. Having lost the ability to conceive that there's another crowd that are playing much bigger game than what society demands of you, kind of thing. There's people playing chess with countries. All the way to the top of the pyramid, that there's probably only one that have a direct contact with the devil, just like Star Wars. Same kind of idea. And those things are real. But we don't conceive of them. Because everybody in the old days, any kind of sorcerer that has decent abilities with the spiritual realm probably could open those portals that are kind of in the rock, and you'd wonder where's a doorway for a flat surface, and then you have all the cartoons that opens doorways. You don't create nothing out of your imagination. Everything's already there. So when everybody was, I mean, average Joe magician magician was able to open portals and freaking make appear unicorns and shit like that. Whatever the power they could they could make out of all that. Construct cathedrals. Who knows? Hard to explain how to enable a person in the 1500s to create those cathedrals. If you ask me, it's kind of tough. They used something that we don't know about. And that's been lost through the spiritual warfare, and that's been gained to the guy that powers both sides of the war. Then you fight against each other and don't really know why, because there's a guy on top that controls you to fight each other. You shed blood, that's how you get information from the devil. That's why you have war. To create trouble, to create affliction, but on the sense that you do what God hates the most. Create war and kill a whole bunch of people. And the devil loves that and gives you more information. We don't know of those powers. We have no idea. We have lost that through our materialistic generations. Sin and sin, not whatever. Whatever you do in life, it doesn't matter. Can you develop ideologies about those subjects and stay in that realm and think those kinds of ideas all day too? Stay in the dynamic that reality is a matter of being. It's a matter of an ability of perceiving, and then perceiveness is an ability of being able to put coherency together, and coherency is to take information and purge the logics out of it, what holds together, what makes sense. Looking for verity, looking for truth. And that truth is not real. Reality is a reflection of the force that are manipulating everything to be able to create that truth. Which is building a man, building a man, building a man. And that man will be the devil will have realized the devil. And yeah, 104. Just to finish it in beauty, to finish that with it. And sin don't exist because you comprehend reality. When you receive new birth, you cannot really sin anymore because you understand how reality functions. When you're a sinner, It's because you don't understand how reality works, how reality functions. So you don't have a concise and comprehensible dynamic of the function of your life. You don't know what life serves you for. You for. And that's to sin, to not believe, to not understand the systematic of reality. That's when you're lost and troubled and not at peace and anxious about things in reality, passing through millions of feelings, living the normal life, running after your paycheck. When you catch how reality works, you want to live on the dollar of betting on generosity of others. So to push a desire to want to meet people for the good part of them. Make the meeting desirable, but mostly enriching. That's the use of life. That's what you do. You use life for. To have good discussion with people so you know them better in the profoundness of their heart. And you usually achieve that by a conscientization or a position of consciousness towards reality. What what do you think about reality? What you think life is for? Same same question asked different way. One answers the other. Going right back to the principle, the attribute of God, that only through intelligence you'll be able to comprehend and comfort your heart. And if you pay attention to your heart and you execute the demand of what your heart demands of you, you quickly arrive to the conclusion that your heart knows that things are eternal, and it asked of your mind to put in substance that ideology of the substance of what that eternal life is. It's almost done here. And there's the simple principalities of comprehending that if you tackle matter and modify matter to the satisfaction of your heart, You're simply living the a simple life that the devil has designed for what reality needs to achieve itself within. So that's the plan of God. But if you're critical about the regard of reality, then then you have that chance to be able to pull yourself out of there. And simply posed, and come to a realization that the reality of life is to realizing. There's a lot of realize there. That simple concept of how profoundly we have fucked it up towards the regard of the distortion that you can perceive compared to the good old saying that he said that the 7th day God created it in 6 days and he took a whole day. Imagine how much freaking thing he could have wanted to change. He took a whole day. He built the whole thing in 6 days, and that's the sun, the stars, the whole thing. So was 7 like almost 10% of the time he sat back and regarded it and tried to find a fail in it, and there was none. And that's your governor of intelligence. That's what intelligence thinks right. Mother Nature, just for shit and giggle, he decided one day that just for shit and giggle, that's how I'm gonna systemize that reality. Boom. On top of Mother Nature, trees and fish and cows and rabbits, serpents and birds. And the whole thing will hold in an equation with the stars and the sun and the moon and the heat and the different systematization for the pre and after flood and things like that. It all remained true and all remained logic and it all remained intelligent, comprehensible. And if there's things you don't understand, it's not because they're not logical, it's because you don't comprehend them. And that's what sanctification is to comprehend more of that reality. Never ever has anything to do with your doings and your identity and your you as a person is a capacity of mind that live a biological entity for what the reality has decided to be organized with. A chance to be conscious of the preciousness of the moral laws. By the obviousness and the simple facts that no matter, we all know in the bottom of our heart that the whole thing, if God would be just, it would mainly satisfy the question of heart. I'm gonna finish with that. It's enough. Okay, bye bye.